I was trying the
Hmm.
data types yesterday, what you mentioned.
Okay.
When I use the float
Uh-huh.
uh, data type, and it didn't give me the like the I mean there was a compile error.
You can share
Uh,
screen. Okay.
yeah, I'll just share the screen just.
Hmm. Maybe after day after tomorrow, or maybe next from, of course, it's already weekend. So Monday onwards, I will start watching your screens as well. You guys have to share what you're doing, okay? Not daily, but maybe 2 days or 3 days that way in a week.
Right, right, got it.
Right. So,
And whatever
yep.
we practice, and we will save
Hmm.
those things in the Eclipse, and I'll share the screen with you. Probably then, if we have any concerns or something like that,
Yeah.
maybe you can.
Right. Right. So your code is working or getting some still compilation issues?
Uh, it it is working. Instead of float, if I use the double, then it is
Double.
working. I'll share my screen.
Okay. Okay, it's coming
Is
up.
it
Yep. Visible.
okay? So here I tried with this one. Uh, you see here,
Yep.
if I just use float, my num
Hmm.
is equals to float and 2.34,
Uh-huh.
or give any letter, then system out println.
No, no, it's already giving error on line 19. That 2.34E.
Delete this token. It is saying syntax error on token R,
Right.
R or E,
So why
whatever
are
it is.
you casting it at this way, like brackets, float? Remove that.
Okay.
Remove that. And put a F after 4, 2.34. Put a F. Still you have error. Don't run it. You won't get.
Oh, I got it, but secure value 2.34. But I didn't get E.
Mm. What is E here?
The float number.
Oh, but that's what are you expecting here? Character or what?
Uh, See, the floating point number should be uh, any decimal with the character, right?
No. Who said that?
Here,
That F is actually a float. Make it F. Remove that E from that line. Make it F. Let me explain you.
okay.
So by
Oh,
default,
okay, okay.
Java deals in double. It does not understand directly float. By default, every decimal value it treat as a double. So you have to mark it explicitly that see I'm not using double. I'm about to use float values. So F is for float. It's not a random character. Okay.
Okay, okay, okay. Oh,
Yeah. I thought when you use E, I thought you were talking about some exponential values and that way you're thinking. I got in
it's
that.
no,
No.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
Okay, now I get it. Now I get it. And the other these things, I'll try out today,
Hmm.
and with the um, this one.
And why your project showing red marking? Expand that you
Uh,
project from left side.
which
Project
this
name,
one?
project name, project name. Expand it here. There's an exclamation sign red. Why is that?
I'm not sure why it is.
Fine, unless your code is working, it's fine. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because you are using some modules and stuff, so it's going that way. So you can ignore it
Oh,
because we have modules
okay.
concept. Okay, after 9 in Java 9 they introduced that.
Right.
Okay, so that's fine. And no need to open these. Right, if you see right side, we have multiple open screens, task list and outline. You can minimize
These
them.
two?
Yep, you can minimize this icon. Minimize right side. Minimize. Yep, and again one more time. So you have better space, more space.
Okay, got it.
Okay, fine. So okay, that's fine. Still, we
And
didn't do much.
the
Yep.
and once we are thorough with the basic coding and all, so do we also get any um, what do you say, the basic projects for uh, like for the beginners doing it?
So see,
I mean,
with Core Java, you cannot do much about it.
it,
With Core
okay.
Java, still it's like a blank or kind of a bare bones structure and hard to do
Mm-hmm.
much. So my suggestion is just keep up with the topics and code we are doing. And once we reach to advanced Java, you know that web applications, there you can do all
Right.
the stuffs. So whatever you
Right.
have learned so far in Core Java, you can implement it there. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So till Core Java, just hold on your horses, wait for some extra topics, then you can start, exploring. But yeah, definitely I'll give you topics and stuff so you can go through the what do you call that, theory plus coding
Mm-hmm.
stuffs. So it's not
Right.
so that way you won't just stick with my topics because we are not here to cover every single concept of Java, right? Just some
Right.
topics so we can work in projects. That's our
Mm-hmm.
idea. So that's why we will focus on certain topics, not all topics. But yeah, those other topics which I'm going to skip in my class, I'll mention them in my class so you can take it as homework and do by your own study. And if you get any error issue, you can share your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
We also include the database in the Java, right?
Right. That we will also do.
Oh, okay.
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 Where we will do that in JD Basic Connection.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
So yeah, that might happen in next week once we have a basic
Okay.
idea of creating classes, methods, constructors, exception handling. Then we will do that.
Right. Right. Okay.
Okay, Krishna. Fine. Farah,
And in
any?
the
Yeah. Okay.
object, and in the object that you created in the last class, so it is meant if you created with the same name, like let's say,
You can see my screen. Refer it.
yeah, yeah, I can see this guy. Yeah, so you have created a public class Jeep,
Mm.
and you have created a new object, uh, yeah, and named it as Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it actually does, like, I mean, so if you again define another Jeep, so
Like in next line, this way. This is your saying.
okay, uh-huh, yeah,
Yeah, you can create multiple objects if required.
with the same name, we can create, right?
Same name is.
uh just with a Jeep.
Yeah, this remains same because this is the syntax. It says class name. So class name you cannot change. My class name is Jeep. Use it
Right,
one
right.
time or 100 times. This remains class. The class name remains Jeep every time. So this
Mm-hmm.
remains as it is. Every time you have to change the variable name. If you don't do that, you will get a compile issue. It says duplicate something. Duplicate
Right.
local variable. So you have to rename or give a different or unique name throughout your Java file.
Oh, okay,
But yeah,
okay,
there's no limit. As per your requirements, you can create multiple objects.
okay, okay.
Okay, there's no limit. So as
So
per
this is just to make the program understand that there are two different Jeeps, and
yeah, different type of
like,
object. Correct. Think about
oh,
if you talk about person. So here I'm also a person, you are also a person. But here your role is as a student. Here I'm as a teacher. But both are
right,
person, right? If I have to create object of person, so one person act as a student, one person act as a teacher. But both are person. Think about that way. So by
okay,
characteristics, behavior, you create objects.
okay,
When
okay,
we do object-oriented programming concept through Java, then we will get some more idea. It is still just how to create object. How many, why, that will come in upcoming classes. But okay,
right, right.
so anything
Yeah,
comes up, ask me, huh? Great.
yeah, sure.
Any other question?
And yeah, that's all.
Okay, fine. Farah, any doubt from your end? Any query, question, concern? You are muted, Farah. Okay, fine. Sabina, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so did you try anything from your end? Is Java code working?
Yes. Yes, I'm trying and I'm watching a video.
Uh-huh.
I'm good for now.
Good for now. Okay. So see, still we have one day or maybe okay guys, one question for you guys. So are you guys comfortable in weekend classes as well? Not both days, maybe on Saturday. So that we will have enough some more you can say plus time for our development and other learning stuffs. If all three
Yeah,
agree, then only I will conduct class on Saturday. Otherwise, We'll
I'm
see.
okay from my side if you take both days. That's not
I'm
okay.
okay as well.
Okay, fine. So two guys are okay. I think Farah will also say yes because it's a
Okay.
remote class, right? So it's fine to take
Right,
part.
right, right.
Okay.
I think she will also be okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right.
So, because we will get enough time, and if you take 2 day break, things get washed up easily if you're learning something new. So be in habitual, always watch your code. If you just open class, close class, or if you're just opening the Eclipse and just watch the code for like 30 minutes, you can get all the code what's happening here. Just watch it, just like you're watching a movie. I know it's really what you call boring stuff, just watching a code, but that helps a lot. If you're working in a new project and you get a fresh new code from someone, from ex developer, you got your code. So you have to watch that code. You have to read that code literally like you read your stories or anything you read or newspapers. Likewise, you have to read the code as well, a new code. Every single word you have to read to what does it mean. When you do it like 2 times, 3 times, 10 times, 50 times, the more you read, the more clarity will comes up, and that also depends upon your experience. So whenever you get code, read it, yes, and that will make you more understandable, or your approach will be greater there, or how to treat. Okay, fine. So going back, so yesterday I gave you some homework, kind of homework to get you understanding like what is package, class, data types, and comments. So these are some theory-based questions or topics which you should cover, and again some terminologies which usually not being asked in interview, but if you knows what is JDK, JVM, GRE, and jar files, that will be a kind of a good thing. So you have a better understanding when your code is written, it's like development is done. So what else? How to execute your code. So that comes from this jar file and other JVM stuffs. So you guys should know how to things are working. So you should know these first 2 points, JDK, GVM, GRE, and what's the role. Because coding is not enough, you have to do certain more stuffs for sure. Okay. So now we have an idea how to create class, how to create variable, how to create class object, and how to fetch that thing in or through the object. So we did the same here. We created a Jeep class, then we created a variable, declared it, initialized it, then in a method, I was not able to access it directly. I was getting some weird error. This was the error. Cannot make static reference. So on second day, definitely I cannot understand this line at all. Doesn't make any sense to me. So leave it. So we have a different approach. We used that approach by creating object. So this was the syntax of creating any class object. Syntax. Syntax. So we created that class object, and once you have object, you can access anything present inside the class. So right now, only two things are part of Jeep class. One is price variable, second is main method. If you just watch it this way, so we just have two things inside Jeep class, a variable and a method, main method, which is the entry point in Java code. And inside main method, what I just did, I created object of Jeep class and tried to access price, and yes, I am able to access it. There it is. So when I run this code, I'm getting output on my screen. And definitely I print this out because I need some uh, readable message. If I just get 1000, so it doesn't make any sense. What is 1000? So I should know what is that. So through this concept, we understood there is a concept of concatenation. If you want to combine two different types, so what you can do, you can use plus operator. We call this plus operator. So this will combine easily the things, and usually we print it for ourselves to make it understand in long term. Think about we are not going to work only in one Java class or two Java class. There might be 200 or 300 Java classes. So you cannot just remember everything. So you put messages there for your own sake. So in future, after 2 or 3 months, when you execute your code, so you knows okay, this variable is coming or this value is coming from that variable, and that's the reason. So this is for our own sake to understand these things after some time. Okay, so next thing we have to learn what is constructor, because that's one part of Java class. Going back, not here. I think in first up there I mentioned. I forgot where. Not here definitely. In second day, yeah, this part. So when we talk about Java class, it can have multiple things. So we talked about the very first part, which is variable, property, of fields, whatever you call it. Next thing in the list is constructor. Any idea To anyone, what is constructor? So check out what is constructor. I'll give you the usage of constructor. What is constructor? You guys will tell me tomorrow. If you know, so you can tell me right now, but I'll tell you what's the purpose of how it helps us in development. So first of all, how you can identify that this is constructor. So it is similar to method, but it does not return anything. In simple words, no return type. Krishna, what is return type here? Any idea? No idea? I hope I'm audible. It has the same class name. It has a name. It's identical. Am I audible, guys?
Yes,
Okay.
we are listening to you.
Okay, so it has a name identical to class name. And the purpose of
Yes.
constructor is to, okay, got it, to initialize class property. Now we already know what is class property, so I'm not going to write again three things. So class, property, variable, all are same thing. So I'm going to say to initialize class property. That's one of the usage of this. It also helps in object creation. Yes, when you are actually creating class object, this constructor will help you. So we will see how. Okay, so how does this constructor looks like? So think about if I have a class XYZ, that's my class name, and I have to create its constructor. So it goes like public. As I said, it has the same name, identical to class name. So what's my class name? XYZ, capital X. So XYZ remains same, but we have to put this curly brace open and close. And this is the constructor. Code goes here. So this public XYZ is known as constructor. That's how you can identify it easily. So this is a constructor. So let's see how to write this in our code. So going back to Eclipse, close all these boxes, expand the project, src, core. Let me create one more package, okay? So I'll say right click on src, then new Java project, sorry, package. Then I'll say com dot pack dot um, constructor demo. Never give space. There we go. So that's my package name, com pack constructor demo. And again, everything in small, separate by dot operator, and finish. So empty package is ready. Let's create new class inside it. So right click, new Java class. Let's say laptop. Just randomly picked a Java class name. There we go. So it creates Java class. And how to create constructor? Here you have to type public, then laptop, curly brace open, close, curly brace closed. That's it. So I said code goes here. So for simplicity, and I will always do that in my class, I'll make sure that class code remains simple. I will not write logic. I just want to focus you guys to learn the concepts. So here I can say default constructor of laptop class. That's the message inside this constructor. Okay, so constructor is ready. So how do I know this is a constructor? Because it has the same name of a class name. As it is, it goes, but without any return type. We don't pass any return type. So if you guys don't know what is return type, that's fine, leave it. But the very first thing you should know, if you have to create constructor, it should be similar. The name should be identical, not similar, identical to the class name. In the same case, if it is capital L, so capital L. Okay, so my constructor is ready, but how to use it? So in that image I mentioned, it is used to initialize class property and it helps in object creation. So this is the purpose, and that's how you can identify that this is the constructor. So these are two different points I mentioned in same place, at same place. Okay, so we will see how it helps in object creation. So coming back to the syntax of object creation. So yesterday we saw it says if I have to create a class object, so syntax is class name, then object reference, then equals, then new keyword, and again class name, and then semicolon. This is the syntax we saw yesterday because at that moment we were not aware about constructor concept. Now we know what is constructor at least, and we also get to know that it helps in object creation. So class name is correct, object reference is fine, it's a variable name, you can name it anything, equals new, this remains as it is, but this section, this is actually not your class name, it's actually a constructor. So that's why I said yesterday this is not complete or correct syntax, but for first class I need to say that. But today we are getting much clarity on it that this is actually a constructor call. You have to write your constructor name here, and that's how it works. So let's prove it. Is it really a constructor? So we just get to know that if you have to call something, like in previous example, going back to that Jeep example, if you have to call this price or anything from the class, we need object. Only object can call the things inside the class. That's first step. Okay. So what I'm going to do, because I have to create object, so it should be inside main method for now. We don't know any other way or any other place. So I'm just putting everything in a same class. Monday onwards, we will create extra classes and things will be more separated. But till today, we are writing everything in one class. So I need to create object of laptop class. So it says laptop, then reference name. So I can pick the same name, but it's a small l. That's a capital L. Then new, and I need to say laptop. This is actually a constructor. You can see with the brackets. The laptop and the brackets, this is your constructor. That's a class name, that's a reference name, equals and this. If I execute this code, any idea what will happen? This is not required. Close. Let's see the output. So right click, run as application. And you guys can see I haven't called the constructor, but still it prints default constructor of laptop class. All because we are actually calling it implicitly. We didn't ask to print this output, but because we are creating object, so while creating object, we are also calling constructor. Which one? Default. So this is known as default constructor. This means constructor. It means constructor without any argument. Krishna, what is argument? Anyone who knows argument or parameters? Any terminologies ever heard? No? Nobody wants to speak? Okay, fine. So that's how it works. So if I run this code, okay, we already saw that. So if you execute this code, by default, default constructor gets invoked and it will print that output. This is the code, and without any invocation, it is working. Okay, this is its output. Okay, now we can discuss more, but let's stop on constructor for this moment because I just want to show you that whenever you need to create object, you are actually using constructor by default. It was not required to write it explicitly. It's a part of or syntax of object creation. So whenever you create object, you are by default calling a default constructor. This is what I want to show here at this moment. So it's working. So we will get back to this constructor topic again, but for now we have to focus on methods. So we will have a much more clarity on how it is different, because somewhere I mentioned on first line similar to method. So how it is similar, that we have to see. So the next topic we have to discuss is methods. So method is a place where we write um, business logic or functionality. So if you want to implement something, some requirement, you have to put some logic you have to write where you do that inside methods. So how do we write these methods? We use public, then return type. Okay, let write a syntax for this first. Syntax. Okay, so it goes like, first of all you have to mention access specifier, then return type, then method name, then brackets, then here argument, and then its type, then argument 2, then its type, and then comma and dot dot dot, then curly brace open and curly brace close. That's how we define methods. What's the purpose? If you want to write some logic, let's suppose I want to write that I'm going to do in next within 5 minutes. We are going to write some calculator code where we will perform some simple operation, mathematical operations, addition, subtraction. So that's the requirement. I need to write some addition logic. So two variables I needed to add them. Two variables I need so they can be subtracted from each other. So that's my requirement. So accordingly, I have to write some method. So access specifier, it's public. Return type is void. I'm not returning anything. Then method name, let's say add. And here I need some arguments. So I'll say int x comma int y. Curly brace open, curly brace close, and here logic goes here. Logic or code goes here. Fine. So that's how we use method. So if you have a look, that's how we write method, and that's how we write uh, constructor. So we wrote something like this: public laptop, and you can say it's kind of a similar thing. But what is missing inside this laptop syntax? No return type. It has a return type void. It means nothing. It won't return anything. But there's no return type. So that's one big difference between. And of course, functionality is different. This is for object creation. It is for initialization. This is for business logic. So both are different. Their purpose is different, but at some point they look similar because of this. Of course, you can pass arguments here as well. You can also pass arguments. Depends upon the requirement. You can always pass your arguments. And done. Let's save this as well. Okay, so I'm going to create a class addition, as I said. Close all. Going to create new package com dot pack dot method demo. Okay, and then right click new Java class and going to create a class calculator. No fancy logic. I'm going to write a simple code. I will write. So class name is calculator. Then I will create one method, public void add, as I mentioned in that image, and here I'll pass int x comma int y, and then I will say it's not required, but for the sake of this simplicity I'm going to do this. So I will create one more variable int z, and I'll say x plus y semicolon, and I'll print SOUT. So I'll say addition of x and y is some message double quotes plus, and then I'll print z, and that's it. So if I call this method, I have to pass these two arguments. So again, I will write everything in the same class for today. And so main method at same location, and here I will create instance or object of calculator class. So how to do that? Your class name, then any reference name. So I will keep it calculator with small c, equal sign, new, and then calculator again, and done. Then I need to access that add method. So how to do that? Object name, that is calculator, small c, then dot, and I'll call add method. As soon as I write add method, it says int x, int y. It needs two arguments. So I'll say 2, comma 3, and that's it. So what I just did, I have created a class, created a method which takes two arguments, and then main method will take these things. Okay, if I have to run this, right click, run as application, and you can see I'm getting the output. Addition of x and y is 5. So I'm passing 2 from here, 3 here, and then 2 plus 3 goes here. This gets printed, added, stored in z. When I try to print, I'm printing z here. So it prints the value of z. Any question till here? Any doubt? No question. So let's move to other methods. So likewise, I'll create one more method that will be, let's say, multiplication. So I'm calling mul x and y, and for multiplication I can use this asterisk sign, x multiply y, and it goes in z, and this time I'll say multiplication of x and y is z. So I have to call this method. This is not called yet. So in next line I will say again reference of calculator class, which is here, the small c calculator. This I have to use. So calculator dot multiplication method, which is written here. That's how we access things inside a class through a object. So dot operator multiplication, and it needs two arguments. So I'll pass some random numbers, let's say 5, and let's say 8. So 5, 8, 40. Okay, so if I execute this code, run as application, so I'm getting multiplication of x and y is 40. So that's how you can create methods and call them through object. So what do you guys have to do? You have to complete this what you can say, implementation of calculator class, add the remaining methods. I will check this tomorrow for sure in your system. Save this, third image, third is already there, so fourth. This is the output from console. Homework first is complete the calculator class implementation. Okay, fine. So try this out and try to complete the remaining methods, that is subtraction, division, and if you want to add some more functionality, feel free to add it and see how you can access it. So it will give you a good practice how to create method, what kind of variables you can use, and you can access them. So the focus is how to create method and call it through object. That's it. Again, this is not the only way. This is one of the way, but not that great. We can even do it without using z variable in one line. It's also possible, but again I don't want to do that in our initial classes, so I'm trying to make it simpler. So we have two variables coming from here and stored in z. By after the whatever result comes up, it goes in z, and then we are printing a value of z here. Okay, so calculator example, try to complete it. Going back to the class, so we saw fields, how this property or a class field looks like. Then we saw a glimpse of constructor, how to create it and how it helps us to create object where we can use it, and even without calling it explicitly. Once you trying to create the object, it will get called by default. Then we saw methods, and we have a concept of blocks, which you guys have to look by yourself and tell me tomorrow what are these blocks concept. Blocks, and we have two blocks as mentioned, static block and instance block. Okay, so that's your second question. Now we saw methods. Okay, so we have a method and we already know how to call this. let's try to combine variable and method in one class. Okay, so let's continue here. Going to create new class. Mm, let's say library. Okay, I'm creating a new Java class library. So first I'll create a variable int, um, not int, let's say string, then name, let's I'm calling it national library. That's the library name. So in one line I am doing initialization and declaration of a variable. So declaration happens here. This is the initialization of variable. So library name is national library, and I need to create a method. So just thinking, okay, let's do one thing. Let's use this variable inside a method. So I'm going to create a method public void um, print, or not print, let's say get, mm, I'll just say name, simple name, that means library name, and body starts, body close, and here I'll say sys out, and I put a message library name is, and here I'll put name. Okay, so you can see what I just did. I combined these two things together. Variable on line 5 and on line 7 I have a method name which actually using the variable, and now I can put a main method for testing. So how to call name method? You cannot call it directly. If I try to call directly, it will give you error. So best way is create object. Always create objects if you want to access anything from the class. So my class name is library. So I start with class name, that is library. Any reference name, I'll call it lib. Up to you. You can call it anything, but that should make sense. And then new keyword, and then constructor. And then I can say lib dot, let's say name, and uh, method this way. Okay, so error gone. Let's run the code. Right click, run as application, and I can see it is printing. Library name is National Library. So we just combine these two things, or these two concepts together. Actually, three concepts together. How to create variable, how to create what do you call that, um, method name, and then how to call them through object. So we just did three things in one example. Okay, so let me put this on paint. Any question till now? No question. You guys are smart, huh? Within 1 second you guys are getting the concepts. I like it. Okay, then this is the output. Okay, that's fifth image, goes fine. Okay, now we have a method this. Now let's try to create some method which actually returns some values. As of now we just used void here. Void means nothing, and when it comes to return type you can pass anything, like all primitive data types we discussed. Not all, I mentioned 4 or 3 variables or data types. You can see there's a bunch of objects which can be also passed as a data type here. Okay, so in next example, let's close these, not required. Well, let's use it right here, why not? Okay, so I'm going to create method. This time I will say string, and same, I'm just going to use the same thing again and again in a different way. Library name, I wrote a new method. This time it is returning one type, that is string type. So I will say return name. See what I just did? I used the name and returned it same way. So if you have anything like this way, this is like one of the data type in our Java. So if you have to return something, that make sure that you are returning. If I don't use return keyword, it will give you error. So you have to make sure that if your method expecting something. Let me explain this in one paint image. So we are talking about method with return type. This is the topic. It has a background color. Okay, so we have this thing. So in this case, this is the access specifier that we know. This is a string, which is actually return type, and this is the method name. And this time we are not passing any argument, so it's a blank or zero arguments. So it's the access specifier, return type, method name, and argument, zero arguments. Again, I'm typing it for today. Is we decided that access specifier, it's return type, that's the method name, and zero argument. Okay, 6. Okay, so let me add one more homework for you guys here. Check out method. So same way, what is method, why we need method, and rules for method in terms of name. If you guys have noticed, when I'm giving method name, going back to name, this is in small, but as soon as I add two different words, library is one word, name is one different word. So we used a camel casing, so we call that camel casing. So when we are writing any method, we write in a camel case. So first letter small, and then every new word starts with capital. Like I said, library name. You have to write print uh, data. So data is capital. If I have to add three word, so let's say show person location. So what I just did, I used three different words. Starting letter will start with small letter, then capital letter. Every single new word will be started with capital letter. So this is known as camel case, and Java uses that to write method names. I hope this term is also clear. So make sure that whenever you're writing it, you are writing it correctly. Either it's a class name, either it's a variable name, or your class method name. Okay, so this is your method name, and let's use some more methods. Let's say I want to say public. I want to return some number of books in the library. So number of books, that means integer or numeric value. So it goes in int, then number of books. See how I'm writing the method name. So number n small, then O of f, and B of books. This and there. So right now I don't want to write any logic. So I simply in one line I will say return. Let's say 5,000 books, and that's it. So if I have to call this, let's try to call library name and number of books. So we already have a variable lib, which is actually an object reference. So I can use the same lib dot library name, and then I can store it in a variable. What's the variable it is returning? So library name. What's the return type of this method name? It's string. So I can create one variable here when I call this, and I can say lib in short name. Up to you, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to lib name, and in next line I can print it. So sys out lib name, and it's done. What if I want to call number of books? Same way, I'll say lib dot number of books. So what's the return type of number of books? It's int type. So I can create one variable int number of books. So NOB I'm calling it. Again, up to you, whatever you want to call it. And then I can print a message is out. See, total books in library. On this. Oh. Then I can pass NOP. That's it. So let's try to execute the code and see what's the output. So right click, run as application, and here you can see first one is coming from here, second is library name is here, and then total book in library is 5000. Okay, so that's how we can write some method code of with different return types. So try your best, check out some more examples where you can see some method names and see how you can access them. First of all, you have to understand what's the return type of the method. So accordingly, you can create them and use them in your code. Okay, and this is the output. Okay, this is done. So now we have some idea like how you can deal with methods. Now we will go back to that constructor topic again, but okay, let me come like cover one more concept from it. Rest you guys can try from your side. So constructor. So going back to the same topic here, and this is the class. So this time we create a constructor. What if I remove it? This was the class. If what if I remove this constructor? Or let's not remove. Let's comment out. So moving this thing outside here. Okay. So instead of removing, I'm going to comment this laptop. You guys can see still no red line, just some warning. That is fine because we are not using that variable on line 11 laptop. I'm not using, that's what it's saying. If you hover, it says the value of local variable is not used. That is okay. But I'm not getting any error on laptop. Even it's not there in the class. And if I run this code, nothing will happen. Nothing is coming up. Right? So how this is happening, or even if I remove this code from here, this code will work perfectly. Even if I remove, I mean, at least for compilation issue, there is no compilation error, no red line, everything's fine. So what just happened here? How things look like? So I'm just covering up one basic concept of constructor. Okay, so uh, let's pick this code here. This is the code. Okay, and then the class name is laptop.java. Okay, so what happens whenever you write any Java code that gets compiled? Okay, it gets compiled into dot class file. So ultimately it will become laptop.class. So what happens when your Java class gets compiled into a dot class file? So this is not exactly happen, but just to make this concept clear, I'm trying to write this code again. So this is the code. So when your code gets compiled to a dot class file, so JVM or that compiler, the Java compiler sees there's no default constructor. So what does it do? If you don't provide this constructor in your code, so by default compiler will add this default constructor in your code like this way with empty thing, and it will add super call here. Super. That's it. So that's how your default constructor looks like. So this thing is generated by the compiler, Java compiler. This part generated by Java compiler. There it goes. There it goes. Okay, so that's how it works. So that's why if I even if I'm using the constructor, it is not. I mean, I'm not specifying or writing class constructor, and there is no error. If I do the same with methods, look back. I'm going back to that method library. So I have multiple methods. If I remove any method, let's suppose I'm going to remove this number of books method. As soon as I remove it, I'm getting an error from the compiler. It says the method number of book is undefined for the type library. It's saying the method is missing. It's not there. So you cannot call it. As soon as I return it back, compiler is good. It says okay, no issue. But that's not happening when you create constructor. See, this is not here. Default constructor is missing from this class or from every single class unless I wrote that explicitly. But there was no compiler error because compiler knows if you are not giving it, it will create it for you. By default, it's there. And if you create, so it will ignore that and won't create any constructor. So once your class is not providing any constructor, so compiler will always add a constructor in your class. Okay, so that's one of the logic for constructor. And this is the end of the very basic part where we saw that class can have fields, constructor, blocks you have to try, methods I just explained you. Nested class is one of the topic which is not necessary at this moment and bit complex or not required at all in even on projects. So this is not required. We're not covering it. But yeah, definitely if you want to try, not now, after 2-3 weeks when we are done with Core Java, then you guys can try by your own and let me know if you are able to run that code or not. But again, for project perspective, you're not supposed to learn the project nested classes. So we just covered the basics of Core Java, what you can cover, like the terms, how to create them, what does they do, and how they look like. So we have uh, we just covered the every single concept which is part of a Java class. Not that much, but we have an idea. So we can create class, we can create variables, we can create constructors, we can create methods, and to call them, we can also create Java object. So through object, you can call fields, constructor is there already, and then methods always. Okay, so now I'm coming back to the very first topic, which was OOPS concept, object-oriented programming. Okay, so the very first example is about object-oriented programming. In short, we call that OOPS. Okay, so it starts with class. We already know what is class. Oh, it is italic. Okay, then noise bold class, then object. We already learned these two concepts. So if any language says that I am object oriented language, that means that language must support classes and objects. So now we know what is class, now we know what is object. Okay, this reminds one homework for you guys. Where? Here. So there is a Java class in Java language whose name is object. Yes, there's a class whose name is object. So check out what is object class in Java. Okay, so there's a class whose name is object. So check out about it and you can have an idea that what does it do or what's the purpose of. In short, this is the super class of every class created in Java language. Okay, so it doesn't matter either it's your class or library class. By default, this is the parent class of all classes. typo, let's fix it. So this is the superclass of every class created in Java language. So even if I'm creating laptop, library, jeep, car, calculator, so every class is a child of this object class. So have a look, tell me tomorrow what is object class. But that is something different here. Okay, so we have class, we have object. So this object and that object class is different. Object is also concept. Object is, of concept means the concept we are learning, and object is also a Java class. So that's different. That's why I gave it as homework. Next, we have to understand the OOPS concepts like inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, and encapsulation. Ever heard these terms before, guys? Anyone? So these are for
No.
okay. So these are some or four basic pillars after class and objects. So inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, encapsulation. So these are concepts, and this concept says if any language suggests or supports object-oriented programming, that means that language must support all six mentioned topics or concepts. So if any language Java says I am object oriented, that means Java must be supporting inheritance. Java must be supporting abstraction, polymorphism, and encapsulation. So we have to see how it works. So today we will try to cover inheritance, and rest of the topics we will try to cover tomorrow. So the very first topic, I hope I'm not teaching fast and everything is clear. If it is the case, let me know anyway, so I can slow down or discuss that topic maybe later. So the very first topic is inheritance. So this is something which happens in real world as well. Inheritance means we are something we will saw something which gets inherited from X to Y. So in real world we have parent-child relationship, and child by default inherits all the wealth of parents. Not even wealth, their surname, their genetics, their genes, everything child gets inherited. So this happens by default, right? So the same concept is implemented in Java language or any language which supports object-oriented programming. So we have here a parent-child relationship. So where child will inherit all the features present in parent class. This is a simple inheritance terminology which I can explain. Nothing much fancy, simply a child inherit all the features from parent. And we know this thing in real world as well. So how does Java helps or supports it, right? That's the question. How does Java supports it? So we can see certain keywords provided in Java language. So how Java supports inheritance. So first is extends keyword, and second is implements. Okay, so we have these two keywords which helps us to achieve inheritance in Java. So like we saw 7 8 keywords yesterday: public, class, int, char, void, main. These were some keywords we saw earlier. Now we are getting familiar with two more keywords, and I mentioned that there are like 40 plus keywords in Java. And believe me, if you write code within 7 days, we will cover almost 30 keywords. Yes, within 7 days, within first week, we will cover almost 30 keywords. So that's how it is work in any programming language. If you're writing code, you will get familiar very easily. Otherwise, it will take months if you're not writing code and just watching my videos or any videos, by the way. Okay, so we have two reserved keywords in Java, and if you use them, you can achieve inheritance. So extend keywords works with class or classes, and implement keyword works with interfaces. Okay, so we have to understand these two things as well. Classes, we know what is class, but what interface? So we will talk about that. But yeah, these are the two ways to achieve inheritance in Java. So let's pick classes first, as we are already familiar with it. So if we use the first extends keyword, so it goes like class go A, class A, then we have class B. So if you want to achieve inheritance, so that means class A will act as a parent, class B will act as a child. So how does class B says that I am a child of A? It says extends A, and that's it. If we use this kind of syntax, we just started a concept of inheritance. So class B will inherit all the features of class A. So as soon as you write this statement, class A becomes parent class and class B becomes child class. I hope this is clear. So let's try to implement this concept quickly in Eclipse. Close all, and I'm going to create one more package. Right click on SRC. Yes, you can create as much package you want. There is no restriction or limit. They should be logical to why you're creating that. So topic wise, I will create packages. So com.pack dot oops, object oriented paradigms. So new Java class, and here I have to create a class which will act as a parent. So okay, let's create a class forest, and I'll create one class tree. Okay, so forest will act as a parent, tree will act as a child. Oh, wrong typo. So if you have to correct it, one way is just rename it right away, because it's going to be just tree. Once you rename, hover the mouse and rename file to tree.java. So it will fix it. That's how you can rename. Okay, so we have two classes, forest and tree, and because I want to treat this tree as a child, I'll say extends forest, and done. So that's how it works. So public class forest will act as a parent and tree will act as a child. Okay, fine. Now just for the sake of how we can verify whether tree is actually inheriting features from forest, I'm going to create one simple variable. So I'll say int, not int, let's say float. Well, let's use double this time. We already use float, so double, and I will say location, forest location. So kind of a coordinates I'm going to give. So I will use some decimals. So 103.569, some random numbers. Okay, so this is a coordinate for that location or that forest. Okay, fine. So if this concept is true, that means if I give something in parent class, this should get inherited to the child class as well. So I don't need to write anything in the child class. Tree should have that location as well because tree is a part of forest. So if this is true, I mean the concept is true about the inheritance, so tree should also have the same concept. So let's do one thing. Inside tree class, I will write a main method and I will say tree. I'm going to create object of tree. So tree equals new default constructor semicolon, and I will say tree dot location, and yes, I'm getting it. Let's print it. Location of not forest, let's say tree is and yep, no red line, nothing issue, and at least compilation is working fine, and I am able to access the field which was actually mentioned in parent class. Cool. Let's try to run this code, and even I'm getting the message as well. Location of tree is this. So that means it's true that if you use extends keyword, you can inherit all the features from parent class. So I can see variable is coming down to the child class. Let's try a method. So I'll say public void name. forest name. And this time I will use return type. Okay, we already know what is the return type, so I can use it. Instead of void, I'll say string. So I need to return something of string type. So I'll say return, and we have to return something in string, so it goes in double quotes, semicolon, and I will say, let's say Amazon forest. Okay, so public string name, so that's the forest name, and it returns the forest name. Fine. So if it is true, so this should also get inherited to the child class. So let's try it. So I'll say tree, the same reference object of tree object, then dot name. And yes, I can see it's coming up. Let's store in a variable string. I'll say tree name and sys out tree name is tree name variable. Variable name also gives in a camel case. You can see variable name is small t and capital N. So that's also in a camel case. Okay, let's try to run this code as well. Checking the output. And it says tree name is Amazon. No space, so give space here. Oh, that looks odd, right? Because this is supposed to be forest name, but it goes as a tree name because I'm saying tree dot name. So ideally we should expect a tree name, but that's not happening. It is giving forest name. That's Amazon is the forest name. So something is missing here that we will fix in upcoming topics. But for now, this concept is proved that if we use extends keyword, we can fetch everything from the parent class. There's definitely this is like 80% correct statement, but for now, for the sake of initial classes, we will say that if you provide anything in your parent class, that will be inherited to the child class. There are certain things or some exception cases are there. We will see in upcoming classes. So any question here, like how extends working here? So you guys can say yes or no, or stay silent, whatever works for you guys.
No, we're watching your video.
No, it's not a video. It's
We're
an online
still
class.
here. Yeah, I mean, like, we're
Uh,
still here listening to you.
okay, okay. Because I'm not getting
We're not
any.
silent.
Okay, fine, fine.
Or for me,
Hmm.
I usually take times to understand the things.
Okay.
My learning process is a little bit different.
Hmm.
I take the time and then I have to try on my own. I make mistakes multiple times and then I understand. So I'm
Hmm.
just watching your
Yeah.
class and then I'm
Okay.
looking forward to try all this after this class.
Right, right. Yeah, that's the way of learning. Obviously, you have to try on only then you can understand the concept. Just watching, you can see, okay, yeah, that's how you can learn, do it.
Yeah.
So that's
While
true.
watching, by attending this class, we feel like, okay, this is easy. But when we try on our own, oh my God, we take
Yeah, that's
with
true.
those multiple like confusion, multiple errors and all.
Right, that's true. So it's totally up to how much you practice after the class. So
Mm.
it's okay if you watch in silent mode. That's completely agree with me. But yeah, when you come back tomorrow, it's for everyone, not you. So that means you will give me something in return, like in response when I ask. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So yep. So we just proved one concept of inheritance by using extends keyword. Okay, it is working. So let's move to next topic or next keyword, that is implements. Here we used extends keyword and it is working fine. This is the keyword. Okay. Next keyword is implements, and implement works in a different way. Um, uh, if you guys okay, we can stop here and we can resume this in next class because this is something different, or whatever we did so far, it will break all those concepts. So I'll suggest let's stop here. Okay, we won't go from this point. So try your best, and whatever we just did, like in terms of fields, constructor, methods, and then we saw a return type of a method, how to have different types of methods in your class. Try that. Use variables inside a method, then call them. try to call methods from the method, like two methods calling each other. Try it that way, and then try this extends keyword. If I explain implements interface, that will, I would say, complex the simplicity what we just achieved in this class. So let's stop here. Whatever I just did, try to practice in your own way. Obviously, if you want, you can copy the same example, paste it in your Eclipse, execute it. That should work. And once that working, so create a fresh project somewhere else. So create like to copy, and I mean right here you can also create new project, like right click and new Java project. And once practice in my project, and if it is working, you can see output is coming up. So try to replicate it in a different way. I have created this forest and tree. Think your own way. You must have some different ideas, like theaters, movies, comics, superheroes, factories, constructor. I mean, just giving you ideas. So think in that way. Create Java classes. Try to create their constructors, methods, variables in same class, and try to get them through objects. Try it that way. So tomorrow when we come, we will resume from the same this inheritance concept. Because when we say object-oriented programming, from here, from this point, things will get a little bit messy, because these are some concepts which are not that straightforward. They have their own way to complex the stuffs. And to make it easy, you need to understand again all the contents of class, constructor, method, variable, and extends. So thing is guys, all these four concepts are interconnected. Maybe when we move forward, when we discuss this polymorphism, so this polymorphism will be using inheritance and abstraction. Yes, in by default it is using all concept. So at the end, when we are done with all this concept, might be I will end up with a code which is using all four basic concepts in one example. So to make it easy for our second or third class, let's do this next class. Okay.